Student Live, Student Voices is being brought to you as a service of Ken Stopel Ford, Central Texas Electric Co-op, Totality Over Texas, Vogel Tractors, Joseph Financial Partners, Medical Arts Pharmacy, and Celebrity Care Medical Clinic.
Welcome to Student Live, Student Voices, a production of HC Broadcasting and KNAF AM 910. This series encourages conversations about the topics that matter to young people and the issues that affect them. Our goal is to engage students in these conversations as well as in the solutions created. Time now for Student Lives, Student Voices.
Welcome to Student Live, Student Voices. This is Steve Maxwell with KNAF, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Brent Ives. He's the Executive Director of the Kerr County Care Coordination Team, and they're part of the Kerr County Crisis Council. I was introduced to Brent by Nick Krupa. He's the investigator for the Kerr County Attorney's Office, and we've had him featured on an earlier episode. But Brent, tell me just a little bit about yourself.
So thank you for having me on the show, Steve. Like you said, I am the Executive Director for Hill Country Crisis Council. I've been in this position since 2017. Prior to that, I was in a position of program director for our children's advocacy center here in Kerrville called Kids Advocacy Place, and I did that for about 7 years. Prior to that, I did some crisis counseling for a nonprofit here in the Hill Country, and I have some background in juvenile probation and working in residential facilities. So for the last 30 years of my tenure professional career, I've been working with intersecting and working with children who are high risk or who are vulnerable to different things, and working with their families, working in crisis. And so I've just kind of followed that path through my career, and it resulted in this position I have now over Hill Country Crisis Council. And we are kind of a unique agency, if you will. We have under the same umbrella organization, or under the same umbrella, we have a Children's Advocacy Center. We have a emergency shelter that provides safety for family violence survivors and adult sexual assault providers. So we're a rape crisis center also. So we have all that at our those are the services that we provide, and we do that in 5 different counties. So we cover those services are provided in Gillespie County, Kerr County, and a couple of other counties that are here in the Hill Country. So that's kind of who we are. Like I said, typically you find a Children's Advocacy Center and a Family Violence Center that are separate, but we provide those services under the same umbrella, and we feel like that provides continuity to victims and survivors that we work with.
Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. My understanding of the Kerr County Care Coordination Team is that it's multiple members in the community and service officials. They've formed a coordinated response, and they identify child victims of sex trafficking, and they provide a rapid response to assist. How much involvement do you have with law enforcement? And I guess every county's involved.
So at this point, we have an established and organized care coordination team to provide that response that you just described in Kerr County. That's the county that we have right now. We don't have that formal response in Gillespie or in Kendall County, the other couple of counties that we serve, but we are moving in that direction. So your question about law enforcement, we work extremely closely with law enforcement in all of the counties that we serve, because we are involved closely with child abuse investigations in every county, including Gillespie County. So in Gillespie County, we work closely with the Fredericksburg Police Department, Gillespie County Sheriff's Office, your local child services or child protective services, the prosecutors that provide the services there in Gillespie County. So we work closely with those folks anytime there is an investigation into child abuse, which would include child exploitation or the commercial sexual exploitation of youth, is what sometimes you'll hear that called that, as well as the commercial sexual exploitation of children. And so, we are there with law enforcement at the inception of these investigations, And then we do assessments at our center to determine if a child is at high risk for being commercially exploited or for being trafficked. Those are interchangeable terms that you'll hear with child sex trafficking. So, we work closely with those folks, and we're trying to continue to develop that response and to coordinate that response even better, because we understand that, we're close to San Antonio, we're close to an interstate runs through Kerrville. Fredericksburg is 30 miles or less than 30 miles off the interstate. So we know that this is a corridor for trafficking when it comes from, maybe from El Paso into San Antonio and then on to Houston, which is a real hotbed for trafficking of children. So we're trying to be better at what we do as far as identifying and providing a service for children who are exploited or trafficked. Yes, sir.
Right. Well, okay, so let's say a parent has suspicion that their child has been on the internet or maybe through their handheld device, their phone or whatnot. Can they contact you and maybe get somebody to look at the computers or talk to the kids, or how does that work?
So they're certainly welcome to contact us if they have a suspicion that their child may be engaged in some kind of behavior that would be concerning, whether it may not be trafficking, but could be being groomed on the internet or solicited on the internet. So by all means, we want to be an information source for those parents. So yes, they would contact us, and then we would either make based on what information that we're learning, we need to determine, is this in something that the parents can be helpful in educating their children, or has it crossed that line to where now it's become a criminal offense if this child is exchanging photos or on the internet, having a conversation and being solicited by somebody from a sexual nature. At that point, we would want to, make a report to the parent or us or all of the above, make a report to law enforcement and or the Department of Family and Protective Services to, initiate some kind of investigation in that. And again, we're going to gather the information from what the parent's saying. And in most cases, we, just like every other citizen in the state of Texas, is a mandated reporter that if you believe there's some kind of abuse occurring to a child, you are responsible for making a call. And it's not your job as a citizen or my job as a staff member at Hill Country Crisis Council to determine if there's abuse or not. The law is just if you have a suspicion. So based on that information that we receive from a parent, we're going to be looking to getting somebody involved who can look at a child's phone.
Student Lives, Student Voices will be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
This is Steve Maxwell here at Texas Rebel Radio, and I want to talk to you just a second about Ken Stopel Ford in Kerrville. They're not just a great company to buy your next vehicle from or to get your vehicle serviced. The Stopels are deeply involved in the communities they serve. They give you their time and resources to Habitat for Humanity, Junior Livestock Scholarships, Kerr County Young Life, Harper and Medina Volunteer Fire Departments, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the United Way, and many more. They touch every community in this listening area in some way. There are some good companies in our Texas Hill Country, but the one company that stands out as an advocate for all of us is Ken Stopel Ford. When you consider purchasing your next vehicle or servicing the ones you have, please give Ken Stopel Ford a chance to show you what they are all about. Honesty, integrity, and a willingness to get involved in their Hill Country community. They have been Hill Country proud since 1966, and they would love nothing more than to prove it to you. Find them at stopelford.com.
CTEC is a proud sponsor of Student Life, Student Voices. From lighting up your homes to powering local businesses, we've been your reliable source of energy for over 75 years. But CTEC is not just about electricity. From sponsoring local school programs to supporting community events, Central Texas Electric Co-op is all about giving back. In fact, concern for community is one of our guiding principles. With every flip of the switch, we're working together to build a brighter future. Visit our website or drop by our office today. Central Texas Electric Co-op, powering homes, empowering communities.
Welcome back to Student Lives, Student Voices, a production of HC Broadcasting and KNAF-AM 910.
We, just like every other citizen in the state of Texas, is a mandated reporter that if you believe there's some kind of abuse occurring to a child, you are responsible for making a call, and it's not your job as a citizen or my job as a staff member at Hill Country Crisis Council to determine if there's abuse or not. The law is just if you have a suspicion. So based on that information that we receive from a parent, we're going to be looking to getting somebody involved who can look at a child's phone. And if a parent has a concern about what's on a child's phone, that it may be criminal or it may be exploitation or it may be leading to trafficking, I would absolutely encourage them to contact or have an intersection with law enforcement there in whatever county that be, and then law enforcement can gather the information and determine if they need to move forward in evidence collection or we need to sit down with that child and have a forensic interview. And that's something that we do at Hill Country Crisis Council. Specifically, our Children's Advocacy Center, which is Kids Advocacy Place, we do a forensic interview with children when there is suspected abuse, and we determine and we identify or gather as much information that can be used in an investigation. So that's the course of action that would happen in that case.
In an earlier episode, Nick Krupa was visiting with me, and we talked about how late should a child have a phone in their bedroom or in a private setting where there's nobody there or a computer in their room. His suggestion was there should never be a phone in there after 7:30 at night. And I think we were both in agreement on that. What advice would you give parents about having these great tools, if you use them correctly, in privacy with the kids? I mean, what would your advice be?
Well, my first advice would be to begin these kind of conversations about, privacy, private body parts, or body safety, or tools like cell phones and how they can be used to hurt children. Obviously age appropriate, but those are conversations that are important to have at an early age, and then continue to have this rapport or this interest in your child's life and have conversations about, who they're hanging around with, who they're talking to on the phone. If they are on the internet, where are they going? And you can also, as a parent, have controls in place. I know there are apps that you're able to check phones. I mean, if your child has a cell phone and that child is even a teenager, you as a parent still have the responsibility and the interest
and
in
the
knowing
right
what that child
and the absolute
and the
right.
Absolutely, the right, no doubt. I don't always want to. Sometimes we get a little bit apprehensive about pulling that card, but it's absolutely an appropriate play. Is to that child knows that you have the right as a parent to go through that phone, to look at who you're looking for as a lens of safety and protection, and that's what parents should be doing. So I think that it depends on every family and what that trust level is and how that child has handled the trust that they've had or that they've earned as they're growing up. So each parent knows their child and how much latitude they should have, how much freedom they should have, and I think that's for that parent to decide. So I think it's just going to vary, but I do want to emphasize that parents must be present and they must be involved and they must be engaged in what their children are doing. And as parents, we all know we get busy and we get focused on doing things, and we don't always stay so involved in our child's life. And I have no concern about being over-involved when it comes to protection and it comes to making sure that your child is not connecting with somebody on a phone or on the internet that can be harmful to that child. Yeah. So I don't think there's any boundary to that in my mind.
The FBI, when I went to the conference last month about the exploitation of children, one of the funny things that happened, they said, well, we if your child just isn't going to listen and they're going to keep getting on their computer in private and you tell them no, and he said you can make a .45 caliber adjustment on that computer. And they showed a film of it being filled with 45 holes. Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny.
That's quite one way to go.
That's an adjustment. How does a victim of abuse get in touch with you?
So a good number. So we have a hotline. We have a couple of different numbers that we can use. Probably the best number to get in touch with us is a hotline number, which is 8. And this is on our website also. And our website is hillcountrycrisiscouncil.com. And that hotline, we have a number that is a 24/7, 7-day-a-week hotline. Somebody's always going to answer this hotline number. It's 888-621-0047. And like I said, as an advocate that is always going to be available to answer that phone 365 days of the year. And so we would have somebody that would answer that telephone or that phone call of that survivor or victim and gather some information. First, we want to determine if that individual is in a crisis or if that individual is in a dangerous situation. And so we would assess those type of things and then begin the process from that point on determining how we can be helpful to protecting that individual. Those are adults that would do that.
Right.
For children that are victims of sexual abuse or physical abuse, that would be an individual in the community or a professional making a call to law enforcement or the Department of Family and Protective Services hotline, and then those children would be brought to us by law enforcement or the Department of Family and Protective Services so that we can do a forensic interview.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a hard right here. The show that Student Live, Student Voices started out, it's just primarily about bullying in Hill Country schools. From your own personal experience, how much do you think bullying comes into play, whether you're the victim or whether you're the bully later in life?
I think it can certainly be a factor in creating problems because bullying is, depending on the level of bullying, but bullying in itself, in my mind, would be considered an adverse childhood experience that could certainly create some trauma to the individual who is on the receiving end of the bullying. So I think that, that experience could certainly is a variable that could create a vulnerability or a high risk for a child as they continue to go down the path of childhood. The individual that is bullying somebody, I think that certainly creates this mindset of being able to demean or to be violent towards somebody or to abuse somebody, and it could be comfortable for that individual who could then go on to be a perpetrator of family violence or sexual violence as well. I'm not going to say that everybody who is bullied or who is bullied somebody, is going to end up in a abuse situation because I think there's so many other variables that are involved.
Oh, sure.
We'll be back with the last segment of Student Live, Student Voices after these messages. Calling all Eclipse visionaries. Totality Over Texas, based here in Fredericksburg, has all your Eclipse essentials covered. ISO certified Eclipse glasses, commemorative t-shirts, and more, all custom designed with Texas in mind. It's time to get ready for the ultimate celestial spectacle. Visit www.totalityovertx.com and make sure all eyes are on you during the eclipse. That's totalityovertexas.com.
Vogel Tractors is the Texas Hill Country source for pre-owned tractors. They offer new and used implements and attachments for landscaping, tillage, and harvest, as well as small construction machines and attachments. Their inventory includes new equipment from Rhino, Armstrong Ag, Industrious America, Mohawk, Agmeyer, and more. Every tractor at Vogel's is thoroughly inspected, serviced, and field tested to ensure that they're field ready. Your trade-in is welcomed at Vogel Tractors, and financing options as well as nationwide delivery is available. The Vogels are successful sixth-generation Texas German farmers and ranchers who know what it takes to work the land. So when you need a tractor or a piece of associated equipment, visit your Hill Country neighbors at Vogel Tractors, 12 miles east of Fredericksburg on U.S. Highway 290, or find them online at vogeltractors.com. That's VOGEL tractors.com.
Welcome back to Student Live, Student Voices, a production of HC Broadcasting and KNAF-AM 910.
I'm not going to say that everybody who is bullied or who is bullied somebody, is going to end up in a abuse situation because I think there's so many other variables that are involved.
Oh, sure.
We certainly we work with children who have been, and adults who have been bullied, and some of those folks have, many of those folks actually are individuals had a supportive system in place to where they were able to receive some support and to have a somebody that can kind of be a protective factor for those individuals. But is bullying a problem, and is it something that can lead to abuse on either side, being a victim or a perpetrator? Yeah, I think absolutely that can be the case. But I think there are obviously certain variables that are in place. What are the resources of these individuals, and how the victims of bullying, or those even who bully, who are the people in their lives that are able to connect with them and to, present another way of doing things, or to support those who are being bullied. So, Steve, I don't know that may be the answer that you want. I think it's a constellation of type of answers, but I see it as a big problem. We previously provided, as an agency, a bullying program for years in local school districts, and so we had that program. We no longer are focused on bullying so much because we've expanded our scope to healthy relationships, and which is a part of bullying, I guess, can be a deterrent to bullying, but to sexual abuse of children and to violence, more along the lines of teen dating violence and things like that. So I may have gone down a different path than you had asked.
You went down the exact path I was hoping you'd go down.
Okay.
And and I think it goes back to having parents having that conversation with their kids on a daily basis. Just, how was your day? Anything happen? How you feeling? That kind of thing. I think it all goes back to that.
It absolutely comes down to the relationship piece that you have as a parent with your child. However you successfully are able to create that, but it's that relationship piece that we as parents want to trust our children, but our children have to be able to trust us, and to know that if they bring something to us that, as a parent, that we're not going to be happy about, that we're not going to throw this temper tantrum or get so angry, that we're going to be reasonable, have I'm trying to think of a level-headed. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. We're going to be level-headed about it because we know our children are going to make mistakes. We just want them to make mistakes that we can be helpful and protect them from, because there are mistakes, obviously, as you know and your listeners know, that we can't protect our children from if they get into a situation to where they're being exploited, or they make some real bad decisions when it comes to drugs or alcohol or things like that.
Right. Well, Brent, is there anything you want to add?
We've talked about our website. We are social media. We have a social media site. We have our Facebook and our Instagram page. We would love for people to like us and to learn more about what we do as far as being protective to children and to adults. I think the only other thing I might add is that we rely on the community in a volunteer capacity to really help and support the operations that we provide, and that can come in all kinds of forms. I mean, we have opportunities for volunteers to actually be trained as hotline specialists, to where they would be answering a hotline call or crisis intervention. We have opportunities for volunteers in the community to accompany victims to the hospital or something like that, or to a police station if they need to be interviewed by police if they've been injured or assaulted. And we have opportunities for volunteers to connect with the clients that we have, the survivors that we have, just in finding out how are our services, are we providing quality services? And we have volunteers that call our clients and call our survivors and just see how we did. So there's a lot of opportunity, and we have to, as a nonprofit that relies on funding not only from the community but at different levels of government, it's important for us to have the community support us in those ways as well. They may not be our staff, they may not be what you would consider professional, but we have training that will allow them to help support us in the gaps that we have as a nonprofit. So I appreciate you giving me that opportunity to talk about how important volunteers are to our organization.
Yeah, and if there's anything in the future that you need from us, I mean, if you need to talk about something on the air, we're more than happy to have you. And again, that website is hillcountrycrisiscouncil.com or centers.com.
At Council, we are Hill Country, and this gets There are times to where people refer to us as Hill Country Crisis Center, but we are Hill Country Crisis Council, and so the website is hillcountrycrisiscouncil.com.
And that hotline is 888-621-0047. So if you want, if you have a problem, if you want to volunteer, I don't know if you want to call the hotline for that, but if you want to volunteer, just get in touch with them, and they'd love to have you, and we'll support you in any way we can.
You can connect with us on our website also. There's an opportunity that says get involved, and it talks about volunteer and internships, so we can be connected with on our website as well.
Well, I really appreciate you again. This has been Brent Ives. He's the Kerr County Care Coordinator Director. We really appreciate it. This will add a lot to the conversation. You have a great day, Brent.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate the opportunity, and I may take you up on that to be able to get on air and continue to talk to the communities that you cover and serve. Thank you, Steve.
Just let me know, Brent, and you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Student Live, Student Voices. Next week, we'll be taking a first look at the highly successful certification programs for professional careers at Fredericksburg ISD and the surrounding area.
Joseph Financial Partners is a proud sponsor of Student Life, Student Voices. They offer independent financial advice in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and insurance. They're here to educate and assist you with all of your financial needs, and they hold themselves to a fiduciary standard, meaning they place your needs above their own. Their mission, to partner with their clients on all of their significant financial decisions by providing independent advice, appropriate education, and extraordinary service, all delivered with the integrity that holds your financial needs above their own. Please visit Joseph Financial Partners at josephfinancialpartners.com and find out why so many have placed their trust in this extraordinary Hill Country financial team. josephfinancialpartners.com.
This is Steve Maxwell, Sales Director here at HC Broadcasting, and I'm careful about giving personal endorsements, but Ken Stopel Ford in Kerrville is a no-brainer. I recommend them without reservation. My wife bought the last truck we purchased from Ken Stopel, and she told me she will never buy from another car dealer. They won't be satisfied until you are happy with the service you receive. That's why Ford Motor Company gave them their President's Award. Ford dealers get this when they meet or exceed customer expectations in every department. They also give back to Hill Country schools and communities. I asked my friend Terry Massey, their general manager, if they would help with our radio show about bullying. He didn't ask me what Ken Stopel would get out of the sponsorship. He just said, sign us up. That's the Stopels I know. The next time you need a vehicle or service, go see the folks that really care about people in the Hill Country. Go see Ken Stopel Ford. Find them at stopelford.com.
We want to make sure that any of our listeners understand help is available from many sources. There is always hope, and nothing is inevitable. There are school counselors, reporting systems at schools, and even help through hotlines such as the 988 system. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, call 988 for assistance, or contact Texas Health and Human Services at 855-937-2372 to talk to a trained professional.
Thank you for listening to Student Live, Student Voices, brought to you by our sponsors, Ken Stopel Ford, Central Texas Electric Co-op, Totality Over Texas, Vogel Tractors, Joseph Financial Partners, Medical Arts Pharmacy, and Celebrity Care Medical Clinic.